Hello. I am Perez Hilton, and you are watching AntiNews. AntiNews, for those of you who are soulless, catty, ginger shills, that is the podcast for you and me.
Loops everywhere, loops. Stop. Okay, so welcome to the Anti-News. That could have gone smoother, but you know, it's one of those weeks, one of those chill weeks where whatever happens, happens. Welcome to the Anti-News, the place where we drink the drinks, we smoke the smokes, we have the casual, fun conversations about things that are going on in the world. If I'm being completely honest, what really happens here is we pull up news articles that we just read some headlines and we're like, that seems like something that would be fun to talk about. We pull it up and 9 times out of 10 we're like, this isn't fun to talk about. Let's make jokes about it instead. So that's what we're really here to do. We are the anti-news. The name kind of gives it away. We are the opposite of news. We are the least trusted name in journalism because we're not journalists in any capacity whatsoever. I am Dan Smuts, and I am joined by the illustrious and beautiful Craig. Craig, how are you, sir?
I am feeling very illustrious and beautiful now.
That's good. So, again, drinking the drinks, smoking the smokes. What are you drinking? What are you smoking? Are you muted? Did you mute yourself immediately after talking? Okay, cool. Hashtag Fire Craig coming out early today.
I swear I unmuted that time. I blame the computer.
Yeah. And suddenly it started working when you willed it to.
No. I am drinking, as I said before, and you clearly muted me. I'm drinking my favorite coffee, bourbon, and half and half in this gigantic mug that says "Be a Nice Human." Then I am vaping. Currently, it is Innovation Rose is the brand, and it's called Nosferatu.
Nosferatu?
Yeah, there you go. You had it?
Yeah. So what is it?
It doesn't actually list on here what it is, but I remember there's like a bunch of fruit and melon. It's very prominently melony, but it's pretty good.
Exciting stuff.
I walked in the vape shop and said, "What do you have on sale?" And he said this, and I said, "Okay, I'll have some of that."
So you're being a cheap whore this week.
Yes.
Gotcha.
As I was last week, and it worked out well when I got the Rounds blueberry mango stuff.
Are you drinking cheap whore bourbon too?
No, it's Jim Beam. It's reasonably not as cheap whore bourbon.
Okay. Well, I am vaping my usual, as you know, the Snow My Gush Blues. Don't need to talk about that again, but
I have that too.
It's the good stuff. It's my go-to lately.
And by our sponsors.
By our
anti-sponsors.
Yes, anti-sponsors. I am drinking a Spike Energy, which will probably send me into a cold sweat shaking frenzy about halfway through this episode.
Still have the gigantic warning label on it?
Probably, because it is pretty dangerous.
It's like
yes,
like 3/4 of the can.
Warning: do not use if you are under the age of 18 or elderly. Do not take with any other stimulant or weight loss supplement or any prescription or over-the-counter medicine. That's my kind of energy drink. Something that says you might die if you're old.
One time, because I regularly drink energy drinks, I keep saying I'm going to cut back, and I never do. But there was one time I opened a cooler and went for my usual, which is the sugar-free Monsters. Mm-hmm. And I saw on a lower shelf this can with this giant warning label facing outward. And I said, yep, got to try that. And I seriously only bought it because it had the giant warning label on it.
Yep. Yeah, I was doing like the little spike shots for a while just because they were like no sugar, no calories, no carbs. And then I saw that they started doing an energy drink, and I had to see what was going on. And I've only had a few terrible experiences where I drank them too quickly, which energy drinks don't typically give me like that big of complications. But if you guys go back and listen to, I think it was like 4 or 5 episodes of AntiNews ago, I think it was into the after party. I was like about to die and had to leave because I was having cold sweats.
I don't think you explained that it was spike energy, though.
Oh, it was, yeah. That's
I know
been my
you
go-to
drank
for a while.
caffeine instead of alcohol, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yep,
But
that'll
that
do
would
it.
explain it.
That'll do it. And before we get into the news, before we kick this thing off for reals, we had a few people call in this week, so we're gonna play your calls, play your voicemails. And if you would like to have your beautiful voice played on this show, call in to 309-716-3818. It's down at the bottom of the screen if you're watching, which I don't feel like I need to say that, because if you're watching, you know that it's at the bottom of the screen with your eyes. But if you're listening, 309-716-3818. You will not find yourself suddenly live on a broadcast accidentally. I will not answer your call. You can leave a voicemail. You can trust that it will be safe and secure and played in the aftermath. So we've got 3 calls this week. Let's see what we've got in the bank. Here we go.
Hey, Craig. What's up? Just calling to see how you're doing. Love the show. I want to know if you had any interesting things happen to you this weekend during the snow blizzard that was only supposed to be a very minor snowstorm. Looks like you were somehow camping and all that stuff. And by camping, I mean you made a shelter out of sticks. So I want to hear about that. I myself got stuck in a Lido and helped push a few people out of the snow. It was interesting. So, yeah. Let me know how your weekend went. Oh, and also, hi, Dan, I guess. This is Lucas. I should have said that first. But you know what? We're doing this in one take. Live action. Bye.
So that was Lucas Riley from the 29 Toes podcast and asking about our weekend. Craig, you posted some
Want
pictures.
me to respond to that?
Yeah, you posted some pictures. How was your weekend?
So, me and my brother-in-law like to get on these kicks of doing different things. Like we get into, like when we were carving, I started carving pipes. He got big into it. And we kind of share the same interests, and we're like, hey, we should try
started
this.
meth. He started meth. You tried murder. He couldn't resist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just always like I text him. I was like, hey, we should try this. Well, at some point last month, we were like, hey, we need to go camping, and it was like still in the 50s in December, and he was like, yeah, let's go after Christmas sometime. We can. He's like, I know this guy. He's like this survivalist guy, and we could try doing some cold weather camping. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. So, this weekend we ended up going, and we looked at the weather, and it was supposed to be in the 20s and 30s, which wasn't too bad. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to take all my hiking gear, because we were going to park our car and walk out in the woods about a mile or so. So take all my backpacking stuff. And I went out and bought this propane heater to stick in my tent. Well, this guy, who's a survivalist guy, had other plans, apparently. And we get there, and he's already half built with this, like, log stick hut. And he's like, all right, guys, we just need to finish putting the roof on this thing and get some bark. And so we probably got out there.
Finish this house real quick, and then we'll be good to go. Good to camp.
We got out there at like 7 o'clock at night. It's already dark. So we're out like looking for leaves and bark and stuff to make this roof. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is completely, which I had a feeling what kind of guy this was when we were headed out there. And he texted back, and he's like, yeah, I brought some candles. They're great for fire starters, and it'll help us see at night. I was like, well, what level of survivalist are we going for here? First of all, my thought was, if you're put in a survivalist situation, what are you more likely to have on you, a flashlight or a candlestick?
Exactly.
In reality.
Just walking around with your typical menorah in your back pocket.
It was hilarious because he was definitely over the top with everything, which we kind of went along with it. But we brought some food and stuff. Like I brought bacon and brats, and we cooked that up on the fire. But this guy was looking through his pack at night for something. He had his candle out. He looked like Ebenezer Scrooge, like writing something at candlelight. I'm like, dude, what? I got a flashlight. He's like, no, I'm good. And so he's searching through. He's like, I can't fucking find it. And he's like, give me that fucking flashlight.
Nice.
And so anyway, so we built this. It was kind of it was a 3-walled with like a lean-to roof on it, made out of logs and stick and bark. The first night we didn't get the roof extended out far enough, but it didn't get super cold, and we had the fire butted up really close, and so it wasn't super bad until it started snowing, and I woke up and snowflakes are hitting me on the face. I'm like, this is an annoying experience I've never had before. And so I just like covered my face up and was fine. And we had checked the weather pretty consistently beforehand, and it was supposed to be a light dusting, as he had said on the message. And it literally snowed the entire next day. I'm just like, this is not stopping. And
a light dusting of downpour all day long.
Yeah. And so we got overall, I think up there, we got like 2 inches of snow. It didn't stop snowing till like 9 o'clock on Saturday evening. And I was more reserved about getting wet and stuff, because that's how you stay warm, by not getting wet. And so like we ran out of water, so we were getting water out of this creek. And my brother-in-law, he was just like, we had like bibs on, Carhartt bibs on, but he's like kneeling in this creek to get water. I'm like, I don't know how waterproof those are, but all right. So I'm like squatting, like kind of straddling over it to get water out, not trying to get any wetter than I need to. So the rest of the night he's sitting there like around the fire. He's got it trying to hang his coveralls over the fire to dry them out, but while it's snowing on top of them. It's just like, this is not going to work out. Mm-hmm. And then that night, there was a wind blowing, so I just froze my ass off. And the night before, one guy kept getting up and building the fire up. That night, it was so cold that everybody kept pretending to be asleep, hoping the next person would get up and stoke the fire. But nobody did. We all were just being super stubborn
assholes.
And we all paid for it. We froze our asses off.
Yeah.
But finally, at like 6 a.m, my toes were numb, and I'm just like, I'm gonna just get up. If I fall asleep in my chair, at least I'm close to the fire. It'd be more comfortable than what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
But if I had a better sleeping bag, it wouldn't have been that big a deal. But my sleeping bag, the zipper kept splitting on it anytime I moved, so I'd start to freeze. And we did the survivalist thing and laid 3 logs down and laid sticks over them for our bed to keep us up off the ground. The only difference was we all brought a mat to sleep on. They brought foam mats to sleep on. I have this little, like 1-inch thick blow-up mat that fits really nicely into a pack. However, there's no way it would have survived on a bed of sticks. So I'm literally just laying on a bed of sticks.
Nice.
Most uncomfortable thing I've ever slept on, ever.
Yeah, so I had a very similar experience with my weekend.
I doubt it.
When I noticed that the snow was really just dumping down, I went out and I started shoveling, and I didn't have like thick insulated gloves or anything, so my fingers got cold, and that really sucked. But I powered through, and I kept shoveling, and then I went back inside and went to sleep.
That's survivalist mode. Now, during the day and the first night, the fire we had so hot that like we were shedding layers and stuff because we were just sitting around the fire smoking and drinking and stuff. But otherwise, if you got too far from the fire,
you died.
I know how people survived back in the days before electricity in the cold. They just chopped wood, because if you chop wood for 2 minutes, you're sweating your ass off.
Right.
It doesn't matter how, it could be like negative.
You don't even have to burn the wood. Just keep chopping. That'll warm you up.
Well, the guy out there was like, you know what they always say, which I haven't ever heard anybody say this, but it makes a lot of sense.
They always say it.
They always say wood burning warms you at 3 different times. One when you're chopping down the tree, one when you're chopping up the wood, and one when you're burning the wood. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I'm sweating my ass off.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun, except the last night overnight was the only time I was like completely miserable. I did try squirrel for the first time ever.
How was squirrel? Give us the abridged version, because we're 15 minutes in. We haven't even touched the news. We have 2 more phone calls.
This is your fault for playing that message. Squirrel was, there's such a tiny amount of meat on it. It was the way we cooked it over the fire was really tough, so it was kind of like eating jerky. But I mean, it had a decent flavor, and we seasoned it and stuff. But the amount of work it took, because they probably took an hour to catch a squirrel, probably another hour to skin the squirrel, and we each got maybe 3 bites of meat off this squirrel.
Nice.
Like, this is way too much effort.
Yep. You should have found a fatter squirrel. Was that what was in the picture? The dead animal that was
Yeah, that was
flopped over?
the squirrel. The guy who shot it right through the ear hole, so you couldn't even see a hole in the thing. I was like, that is a really good shot.
Nice. What did he shoot it with?
A 22 rifle, just a tiny little bullet.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, let's get to the next phone call. See what we've got here. And I swear that we're going to actually do news here in just a few minutes, but we got to get through these.
Hey, AntiNews folks. I gotta say, well, first, it's Justin. I gotta say that I'm a little disappointed in you, Dan. You didn't say drink the drinks and smoke the smokes in this episode, or at least you haven't yet since you repeated the number, which took me maybe 4 times to listen to you, but I blame that on listening to this podcast really quickly. So, yeah, get back on that, man. Oh, and I'm on the pro-Craig side of things, so please don't fire him, or I won't listen anymore. See you guys.
Well,
Who is that again?
Justin.
Okay, Justin's still one of my favorite listeners.
So
That's Zelinsky?
Well, I assume that he might not want his last name said on the air, since he didn't
Anonymous?
feel the need to say his last name on the air.
Okay,
But
you
sure,
can edit that out. You can bleep that out.
I cannot neither confirm nor deny that that's who that was. But
You can bleep that out. That is still my favorite guest we've had on the show, Justin Anonymous. Because he has all the smart things to talk about and all the things I'm interested in. And we need to get him back on the show.
it's true. And so he brought up the hashtag Fire Craig thing, which reminds me, we have a new listener recently, Tim Finnegan. Also, I believe a Downers Club member, and he posted yesterday. Did you happen to see the post that the post he posted? He posted, you know, Lions of Liberty. Now you need to check out The System Is Down. The System Is Down. Boozebag Brian McWilliams introduced me to Dangerous Dan Smots, and it's a lot of fun. A great listen every episode. And then there was a bunch of comments on it, which were great. Nick Picone said, "Great show." Tim Finnegan says, "Definitely, Dan does what I'd want to do if I was in the podcast media world. Great, chill, fun vibe. Blah 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 blah. All nice things. Absolutely, it was a fantastic show." Says Nick Tucker. Stephanie Bloom Parker says, "Never dull." But the reason why I'm saying this is not just to gloat about how great we are, but there's a point here. Nick Tucker says, "It's exciting enough that I listen to every episode." Tim Finnegan says, "Likewise. I mean, it takes a special person to make me turn off Alan Watts or the new Muse album to listen to Craig." So apparently, you've got a fan in Tim Finnegan also. But then Nick Tucker responds and says, hashtag Fire Craig. So the hashtag is making its way outside of just the forum and the Downers
Just
Club.
by Nick Tucker, because he's the one that's pushing it the heaviest, even in our forum.
Yes.
Like,
So
Nick, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna freaking murder you or something.
That's how we treat listeners to the show. We threaten them with murder.
The ones that want to fire me.
Yep.
So you'll listen to me or we'll kill you.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So if you want Craig to be fired, just keep the hashtag Fire Craig going. The more I see it outside of the forum, the happier it makes me. Just let's make it a thing out in the real world, especially around people who have no idea what you're talking about.
That's what I was gonna say. It's funny because nobody who's reading that has a clue what they're talking about. They're probably just like, "Who the hell is this? Why are you being such an asshole?"
Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got one more call, and then we'll jump into the news. Let's see what we've got here.
How you doing? God, I want to call and tell you one thing. I see Perez Hilton is a known homosexual promoting your podcast, and I'm gonna tell you, I've been a long time listener, first time caller, and I just don't know what to do about it. Homosexuals and Jesus don't really go together. Call me back and play this on the air. Tell him Brother Wayne is looking for you. I'm praying for you, and the Word of God is going to go forth and do great things in 2019. Praise God.
All right, that is Brother Wayne. Thank you, Brother
Praise
Wayne.
God.
I'd
like to know who this Brother Wayne is, because that was great.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, Brother Wayne is offended that we have Perez Hilton opening up the show because apparently Brother Wayne is a longtime listener, and he thinks that we should that we're such a wholesome, godly show that we should be concerned about having them homosexuals repping the show for us. So
Jesus and them homosexuals don't mix.
Brother Wayne, I sincerely appreciate your listenership, and I'm not entirely convinced that you've actually been a long-time listener, but I appreciate your enthusiasm and your prayers. Keep us in your prayers, please, Brother Wayne. And
we need them.
Yes, we need them, and you'll find that out wholeheartedly as we jump into this episode. But we're going to kick it off. We're going to jump into the intro, and then we're going to do some news for you, because that's what you pretend like you're here for, and not this random nonsense. But we'll be right back. We'll see you on the other side with the stuff, all the things that are going on in the world, and we'll enlighten you. So stick around.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he really means that.
Half the stuff before they do what I call nasty.
I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with that smoke! We are still here!
We have to say yes to socialism.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
All right. So, I hope you enjoyed our opening segment of callers. And again, if you would like to call in and be a part of the show, you can do so by calling 309-716-3818. You guys are helping form this show and mold it into what it can be. Its fullest potential is on your shoulders, because typically we just bullshit for the first 15 or so minutes opening up the show, but if you guys keep calling in, that's what it'll be. We'll make that the opener, the opening segment, and have some fun with that. I like it a lot. Craig, do you like it?
I like it. You always wait till my hands are completely full doing something. I'm muted to ask me a question.
Yep.
Watch this. I'm gonna give him a reason to talk shit because he can't get his thing unmuted.
That's right. So let's cover some things that are going on in the world today. I will kick it off with this comes from independent.co.uk, so you know that it is completely and perfectly legit. Top animal rights charity accused of secretly killing dogs to increase flow of donations.
Isn't that problematic?
Please don't use that word, but yes, I would say
Isn't
that
the opposite of what they should be going for?
Well, you would think so, but I am, just based on the headline alone, I'm fully in support of their practices. Let's jump into this and see what they've got going on. A prominent South Korean animal rights charity has been accused of killing over
Wait, did you say animal rights or anal rights?
I believe it was animal rights.
You said it quickly. It sounded like anal rights.
Animal rights. Anal rights.
There, perfect.
They're really concerned about the well-being of the sphincters of certain species. So, start over. A prominent South Korean anal rights charity has been accused of killing over 200 dogs in its care in order to make space for more and ensure a steady stream of donations. The accusations come from staff members at the Coexistence of Animal Rights on Earth. The acronym, of course, is CARE. Good one. Who said the charity's head, Park So-yeon. So should we come up with an abbreviation for that?
You know what to do.
I don't know. Can you do Ching Chong for South Koreans too? I suppose as Americans.
I think it's Yin Yang.
Yin Yang? Okay. Park Yin Yang ordered the destruction of more than 230 dogs, about a quarter of the animals the group had rescued. A quarter of the animals.
So how much money did they spend rescuing these dogs just to spend more money to, as they say, destroy them? Because the verbiage they used was the destruction of these dogs. Like, describe in detail what the process is.
They didn't just put them down, they destroyed them. They're having fun with it, and so am I. The charity has a declared no-kill policy for the canines it rescues, mostly from Korean dog meat farms. Holy crap.
Thing?
No, apparently so. This week in your culture corner, Korean dog meat farms. Speaking to the Ching Chong newspaper, staff said around 10% of the dogs were suffering from incurable illnesses, and most were killed because they were too big to be kept comfortably in the space available. After they had been put down, the animals were listed as having been adopted. Current South Korean President... What do you want? Fill in the blank.
Ping pong.
Moon Jae-in Ping Pong. First name Moon, I guess I don't know. Who loves animals and owns several dogs, adopted a pet from the charity when he came to power in 2017. The organization has made numerous appeals for funds to help it make more rescues. And in those fundraising efforts, it has always asserted that it does not kill dogs, even if they are not adopted. In a statement, Ms. Park said a small number of exterminations had been inevitable since 2015 due to a surge in requests for rescue missions.
I feel that as a supposed news source, it's really sad that we don't know the name of the South Korean president. I think it's Moon Jae-in. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I disagree.
Okay. Fair enough.
Fake news. She said usually only particularly aggressive dogs or those with incurable illnesses would be put down, and that would only happen after significant attempts to cure them had proved hopeless. CARE staff members mounted a protest in the organization's offices at the weekend, demanding Ms. Park's resignation. Eating dog meat is a tradition in South Korea, with records of the practice stretching back to the 1st century, but despite the long history, it is not a core part of the Korean diet. So it's not like cows, but they've been doing it for a good while. It's more like, I don't know, maybe lobster. It's more of a delicacy, it sounds like, in South Korea.
Honestly, I don't really understand cultural issues with eating certain animals but not other animals.
No.
Like how it's illegal for us to eat a horse or a cat or a dog.
Yeah.
But we can fully and completely eat a cow. Even if it was our pet cow at one point, we can turn around and be like, you're not our pet cow anymore. We're going to put a bullet in your head.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Either animals are property and can be consumed, or they are next level and we all have to be vegans and vegetarians now. If one is acceptable to eat, then they should all technically be acceptable to eat. I love cats, but I don't think it's that big of a deal that they eat cats in other countries. It's weird to us here, but it's not that big of a deal. They're just animals. Sorry. And if we're
I would have to agree.
And if we're talking about like intelligence, stuff like that, I mean, chickens are supposed to be one of the more intelligent animals, and we eat them by the thousands daily. Millions, billions, trillions, who knows?
We eat them by the lots.
By the many.
So it is perfectly acceptable and legal to eat dog in South Korea, yet there are places who save them from dog meat farms.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like us going and adopting all the cows from the cow farms because we don't want them to get eaten. And then the other thing that came to mind was they're making a big fuss about them destroying these dogs after they found that they are completely, utterly incurable of whatever ailments they have. It's like, what the hell are they supposed to do? Just let them suffer and just painfully die?
Yeah. Also, who cares? I mean, it is technically a no-kill shelter, and they are killing some out of necessity because of the surge of requests for rescues. Like, they are overpopulated. They have to do something. So if you are a diseased, dying dog that's never going to be adopted, I'm sorry, you have to be put down. And also, there are kill shelters. The fact that this is a no-kill shelter, killing, doesn't make it worse than the kill shelters, right?
Yeah, I don't know how that goes. I mean, here in the States, they have no-kill shelters. Do they just let animals suffer if they have, like, pancreatic cancer and they're, like, dragging their ass along and can barely move? Or do they give them the humane way out? I mean, I don't know how that works here in the States either.
Yep. I love animals, but, if they got to be put down, if they're an inconvenience, and, I mean, the dogs aren't paying their rent. They're not, like, contributing to society. It's not like we have to keep them alive. Let them go off into the woods and see how long they survive. They're there. They are a drain on a resource for this company, and at some point they have to say, hey, we don't have room for more dogs, so we're going to have to put some down.
Yeah, it's either put down the diseased ones or stop bringing in the perfectly fine ones that we actually can save. So
right, or like, shut down the rescue entirely if you're going to bitch about it. If you shut it down, then what happens? None of them get rescued.
Dog meat for everyone.
Right. Anyway, I thought that would be a cheery way to kick off the night. What do you got?
I want to jump right into the whole them gays scenario that we discussed beforehand. Here is an article. Have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet?
No, still haven't.
You need to see it.
I know.
Well, here's an article on Pop Sugar, so it's legit.
Clearly.
It's titled Bohemian Rhapsody's award season buzz isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous.
Okay.
So I'm going to kind of jump around on this one because it says a lot. I mean, it says a little bit in a lot of words. So I'm going to read the beginning and then I'm going to jump down to the problem. So it says, drawn to Freddie Mercury's unparalleled voice and flamboyance, drawn to the song lyrics that have proved themselves indelible in our collective memory, like so many, I grew up idolizing the Queen frontman. This was before I knew about his sexuality or even my own. But in many ways, it wasn't a secret. His performance of gender and masculinity was coded in queerness nuances during the 70s and 80s that now in hindsight seem to scream with clarity. At that time, Freddie Mercury... Now, listen to this paragraph. At that time, Freddie Mercury wasn't able to publicly out and have the career that he did. So he wasn't able to come out, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah.
And still have the big career that he had. That's what makes the recent Queen biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, a movie just as scared of his sexuality so distressing as the film which won the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Actor for lead Rami Malek continues to receive accolades. Hollywood is signaling that this is gold standard for the queer storytelling. So, let's see. It says, for the greater part of our history, queer people were forced to identify each other through furtive glances and coded language. These were survival tactics. If we acknowledged ourselves directly with words or action, we were opening ourselves up to danger. We see Mercury, played by Malek in the film, making suggestive eyes with a man, a stranger. The implication is that he'll follow him into a public bathroom for a hookup. Though before we find out what happens, the camera cuts to a new scene. Much later, he's shown in a gay bar surrounded by men in leather, though not engaging with anybody on screen. In contrast, a different scene reveals Mercury approaching a woman at a concert. This is Mary Austin, his lifelong friend and confidant. They flirt, and Mercury later shows up at the shop where she works to ask her out. Later, they're laying on a couch, partially clothed, and Freddie proposes to her. It's a moment of intimacy, the type you go to a loud biopic about a famous rock star to see. But in the context of Bohemian Rhapsody, the lesson is that relationships with women are virtuous and are something to pursue, while relationships with men are something to hide. And that's the point there that they're making.
So they're saying that that's problematic?
Yeah, because
Hollywood they showed what happened in history?
That's the whole thing. At the very beginning, it said back then he wasn't able to out himself, and it had to be done with like gestures. And so basically what they did was make it what it was.
Accurate?
What it was back then. Yeah, accuracy. And they wanted it to be more than what it was.
So did they just... Are they mad that they didn't show inaccurate
they
footage, or that they didn't show like straight up gay porn, or like I'm confused.
They're mad that they made the male on female relationship like a really lovey scene, and the stuff with the men was just like
that's what it was.
Taboo thing, which is what it was. I don't know if they wanted to see more action on the gay side or what, but that's.
I'm assuming that they're meaning like they wanted to see more him like having relationships with guys and making it a good and wholesome flowery thing like they do with the women, but that's not how it was because he had to hide it. He had to hide it, like they said.
They pointed out
yes.
in the article. So it goes on to say, this, without a doubt, something that Mercury himself would have known during his life. It guided a great number of things he did, but the movie fails by solely presenting the Freddie Mercury that was crafted and presented for public consumption, not the private Freddie Mercury who existed beyond closed bathroom doors. So yes, they did want to see the
so
gay
they
sex.
wanted straight up, gay up, public restroom, gay porn. That's the only thing that would have made them satisfied. And they wanted like some beautiful music playing behind that or something to make it seem elegant.
So it says Brian May and Roger Taylor, two remaining Queen or members of Queen that served as creative and musical consultants on the film, are complicit in this sanitized version of Freddie Mercury. This Mercury has been chewed on and softened to appeal to a wide audience, spit back up into something deemed palatable. It isn't May and Taylor's mission to let you into a truth about this legendary singer. It's about preserving the legacy of Freddie Mercury and Queen. That means dropping the things that don't fit into a happy, crowd-pleasing narrative. So basically what they're saying is these guys didn't want to make him more than what he wanted to be displayed publicly.
Right.
Like, I mean, even the show itself was showing more things than we would have seen on the outside.
Right.
But it didn't want to bring things out in the open and make things more public than Freddie. Because Freddie Mercury is a pretty private guy, from what I've heard. So it says Freddie's self-described passion for cocaine, polyamorous relationships, and a sex life that included romantic partners, casual partners, and sexual. Well, it says that means dropping the things that don't fit, and that added those things. Mm-hmm. Mercury had an enormous sex drive. This was asserted many times throughout his life, and it's an important point lost in the movie. He was a man of excess, one of his defining characteristics, and that included sex. Speaking to the journalist Rick Sky, that sounds legitimate, who interviewed Mercury numerous times over the years, he said, "To me, dullness is a disease. I need danger and excitement. I was not made for staying indoors and watching television. I'm definitely a sexual person. I used to say that I would go with anyone, but I have become more choosy. I love to surround myself with strange and interesting people because they make me feel more alive. Straight people bore me stiff. I love freaky people." This side of him is certainly portrayed in the movie, but it's never a cause for happiness. To be a queer is to know torment, never joy, which in the 80s it kind of was.
Uh-huh.
Like, to be outed or anything, you would have had a black label on you for
Right.
Like, there's no way he would have done what he did if he was more open about it.
As was covered at the beginning of this story, or this article.
Bohemian Rhapsody keeps Mercury in the closet, showing only rare positive glimpses of his queer life, relating to sex and otherwise. In doing so, the movie paints his queerness as undoing. Contrary to what the movie shows, Mercury never came out to his parents. He never made an official confession to the other members of Queen about his HIV status. I'm sure he did at some point when he was about to die.
They found out.
Yeah. He very deliberately kept the queer parts of his life separate. So despite having members of members of Queen consult on the film, the movie results to simply presenting the most stereotypical aspects of queer life, and it does so by coating them in shame. Mercury's undoing in reality is spurred not by his queerness, but by living in a judgmental, intolerant world that required him to hide his identity. Because he was living in a judgmental, intolerant world, forced to hide it. It's like they're completely contradicting themselves by explaining to them what was happening here. It's just like, and the thing that gets me, it's like, the only thing they're really saying that they wanted more of is more sex, like more gay sex, is all it's saying, because they keep saying how sexual of a person he was. He had an enormous sex drive. It's like, I didn't come to watch a soft porn of Freddie Mercury. I'm sorry, but I thought they did a decent job of bringing that, because there's still not a ton of homosexuality in big screen at this point. I mean, it's definitely getting there, but it's not like blatantly in your face yet. And so I think they did a decent job portraying him for who he was.
They just told the story as it was, as far as they knew.
As it would have been witnessed by his closest friends, obviously, because his bandmates only knew that side of him. They didn't know all the deep, enormous sex drive he had and stuff like that. So this would have been what would have been seen as a close view, like somebody closer than just a fan.
And who's this person claiming that he had this enormous sex drive and knows all these things that the band didn't even know at the time?
I don't know. This is Jeffrey Masters, who's apparently gay too, according to this, which I don't know why that has anything to do with the story, but he had to point that out.
Yep.
But anyway, so apparently Hollywood shouldn't be glorifying this, because it is keeping Freddie Mercury in the closet that he kept himself in.
No, it's not, because it says that he's gay in the movie. From what I can tell, it makes it very apparent, like, that he was gay and having to hide it. It doesn't shy away from saying that he was. It shies away from lying and saying that he was, open and flamboyant at the time. Like, I don't understand the issue at all. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But I don't know what people want. I don't know what people want these days.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. The outrage continues, and a movie that I thought, when one of the lines I left out was that the LGBTQ group or culture is like praising this movie. It says on paper the movie is a success. It's become the highest grossing LGBTQ plus film of all time.
Yeah. Well, this is like the equivalent of like somebody coming out and bashing on, like a black person coming out and bashing on Black Panther and saying that, I don't know, like it shows him as a racial stereotype because he's in a tribe, an African tribe. It's like, well, he is though. And like if it was talking about somebody historically, it's like that's actually what it was. I'm confused as to what the issue is even. You're just like, they're not saying he's straight in the movie. They're saying he's gay and he had to hide it. They're showing the struggle that you are saying that he went. I don't know. The whole thing is dumb. We got to move on. This is stupid. This is gay. Coming back to dogs. Angry Eagles fan attacks girlfriend, puts dog in microwave, police say. I feel like this is a good one that needs to be addressed, and it's really important in society. This is something that will change hearts and minds for the better. Greg, are you even with me here? You're texting, and I'm not a fan of texting while I'm talking.
Yeah, you do it while I'm talking. So
I've never done it.
that's not true.
Okay. So what was the headline of this article?
I don't remember. Bohemian Rhapsody award season buzz just as
Incorrect. We moved on without you.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So, upset about Philadelphia Eagles playoffs loss on Sunday, a 31-year-old woman attacked her girlfriend inside their room at the Best Western Hotel in Hanover Township, Northampton County, and placed the girlfriend's dog inside a microwave, according to court records.
Placed a dog in a microwave?
Yep. Kirsten J. Gaskin of Philadelphia was charged with simple assault. What is that? What is simple assault?
As opposed to
complicated assault. It was pretty obvious what she did there. It was really simple assault. Just, dog microwave. It's not that complicated. Harassment, cruelty to animals, and possession of drug paraphernalia. She was arraigned by District Judge Robert Hawk and released on $20,000 unsecured bail. According to a criminal complaint, Colonial Regional Police were dispatched at 9:40 p.m. Sunday to the hotel at 300 Gateway Drive. Who cares? Who cares about these details? And spoke to a woman who said...
Extra words to fill in the article.
Pretty much. I understand that it's journalism and you have to do that, but I feel like every single article that we read, the first paragraph is just names, locations, and times, and it just takes way too long to get to the actual meat. So I should just skip the first paragraph. Sunday at hotel, police could see blood on the woman's left ear and a cut on her nose and left cheek. The woman said she and Gaskins were staying at the hotel as a getaway. Getaway
to what? Meth?
But Gaskins got drunk and began yelling at her about the Eagles' playoffs loss to the New Orleans Saints.
You're doing great.
Thank you. The woman said Gaskins began to push her, and she pushed her back so she could get away. The woman said Gaskins pushed her hard enough to knock her down, and when she was on the floor, Gaskins got on top of her and began hitting her in the face. The woman said she scratched Gaskins on the face and was able to get away. During the argument, Gaskins told the woman that if she left the room, she would kill her dog in the room, who was in the room with him.
Well, he did, in his defense, he did warn her before he did it. So it's kind of on her for leaving the room at that point.
Exactly. She could have stayed. It's her fault. Gaskins fled before police arrived. She was right to do so, because screw that dog. While police and hotel security were talking to the woman, Gaskins returned and told the woman to get her stuff from the room because they were leaving. Gaskins refused to talk to police. She was taken into custody on the assault charges, and police found a marijuana grinder in her jacket pocket. So this is two women, right? That's what I'm getting from this. But you're not even listening, so...
I am. I didn't know if you were asking me if that was rhetorical, because I don't have the article in front of me.
Oh, that's cool. Police went to the hotel room and checked the microwave and found a white Pomeranian dog inside. The microwave was not turned on and the dog was unharmed, but the oven was too small for the dog to stand or turn around, and there was limited ventilation inside.
So are most dog kennels are too small for them to stand or turn around, so you can't hold that against the guy.
That's true. Seems like she was just, trying to keep the dog out of harm's way. Stick it in the microwave, so, when you're throwing your drunken rage, you're just putting him in a safe place. Just call it like a little kennel. It's like a complimentary hotel mini kennel for Pomeranians.
Or maybe she was concerned about a nuclear blast, and she thought that would be the safest spot for the dog to hide. Kind of like Indiana Jones on I think it was the Crystal Skull when he hid in the fridge and survived the nuclear blast.
We don't talk about that Indiana Jones movie because it doesn't exist. But
sorry.
Yeah, she was just doing the nicest thing that she could in her drunken rage, just keeping the dog safe. It was unharmed. So that's it.
Who got charged for that? He got charged for...
I think they were both women.
Okay, so we missed major parts of the story, apparently. So
you keep saying he.
One of them got charged for the assault then, or... I swear there was a he in there. The woman was concerned about the Eagles losing? That doesn't sound right.
He closed it. Hold on. Okay.
I mean, not to sound sexist, but I can't imagine a woman being that concerned about a football game.
30-year-old woman attacked her girlfriend. They were both women.
Okay.
Good Lord.
She...
Did you listen to anything I said? It's like I read the whole thing and then I have to go.
Story.
No, I knew, and I was wondering if I was incorrect and like misread something because you kept saying he.
Well, you were like when they talk about the people, they usually read say the last names, and so when you're like so and so was got drunk and was upset about the Eagles game, my mind instantly went, not that women don't care about football, but men are stupidly like emotional about football games, like to a really ridiculously stupid point. And so my mind just led to men, and that's not a bad thing against women. That's a bad thing against stupid football men who get drunk and beat their wives because of football games.
Yeah, what's funny is that if you think about like a lesbian couple, they're totally the stereotypes because you've got the drunken, angry butch girl watching sports and throwing a fit. Then you've got the other girl who was scared and fleeing for her life and forgot her Pomeranian dog.
It's probably the other way around. It's probably the really like more feminine one that was concerned about the football game, and Butch grabbed the dog and was like, you're not gonna stick Fluffy in the microwave.
Yeah, there's no pictures, so we cannot confirm nor deny. So that's that. Women apparently like sports. That's what we learned from this story.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So, moving on? Are we moving on?
Yep, go ahead.
So, continuing with things. So,
speaking of people, places, and things.
Have you heard about this new concept of how this concept of toxic masculinity?
I have. I am vaguely familiar, and regardless of what people would assume based on what we just talked about, I am not familiar with it.
Gillette, apparently, the famous razor company that came out with like the Chic, that's Chic, I guess. They came out with the 5.
It's pronounced Chic,
whatever. The 5. What's the 5 one that Gillette has?
I don't
know. Remember. Anyway, it's got like the 5 blades with the extra one on the back with the straight blade. I don't use razors anymore, clearly, so I don't remember what they're called.
Yep.
Anyway, Gillette.
I had this article pulled up too, but I can't find it, so I'm glad you have it.
Gillette's new ad campaign is addressing toxic masculinity.
Detail.
So, days after the American Psychological Association announced that traditional masculinity is harmful to society, let's stop there. Not even through the first sentence. No.
Greg, are you going to mansplain the problem with this article?
Let me explain to you what masculinity really is. Masculinity itself is not harmful to society. The tradition of being an asshole is harmful to society.
Whether you have a penis or a vagina, if you are an asshole, then you are harmful to society.
Maybe we were just raised because we were raised into more of a like mother strong household and a father strong. Like it's not that our dad did nothing, but our mom was definitely the main influencer. What's that?
The more outgoing one of the two.
Yes, the more verbal one. Maybe it's the way we were raised, but I hear stuff like this and how masculinity is harmful, and then I hear there's a commercial on the radio. It's an anti-bullying commercial, and you hear just all these parents, like they're like, well, it's against bullying, and like we need to change how we're teaching our kids. When you hear all these parents, like one person's like, well, if she didn't have that on her head, or because she wears that on her head, she's just asking you to get made fun of. And then another guy, and it's the word. It sounds like a white guy trying to sound like a black guy to sound relevant, because he's like, he literally sounds almost like what's the guy from Family Guy, the black guy?
Oh, Cleveland.
Cleveland. He's like, that's just the way boys are raised. And he'll grow out of it. It's just a phase. It's like, oh my gosh, that is a worst stereotypical sounding white black guy ever. And it's just a bunch of things like that. It's just like, it's like, well, boys will just be boys, and they just need to not. And it's like, no, I've never heard a parent actually talk like this when their kid's being an asshole.
Right.
Like, I would never talk like, if my kid was being an asshole, my kid would get his ass beat.
Yeah.
It's just like maybe it's just us. Maybe we are wrong, and it's just really going on. But I have seriously never heard that stereotypical asshole parent that's like, well, he's just asking you to punch in the face. Have you seen the way he dresses? And that's the way they're talking on that commercial. And this Gillette one I watched, and it's kind of the same. They're kind of hitting the same, but it's not so in your face. But still, the fact that traditional masculinity is harmful, it's just like.
Are you able to share the commercial?
Let me see if it'll play without doing anything bad. Let me know if it's way too loud too. Oh, it said an error occurred. Try again later. Hang on.
Sounds
let me
great.
try. Nope. Looks like they took it down.
Sweet.
So I'll get into the story. It says they announced that since days after American Psychological Association announced traditional masculinity is harmful to society and can lead to homophobia and sexual harassment, razor brand Gillette released a new ad campaign touching on the same topic. The Procter & Gamble-owned company is using the new ad to tackle its own slogan, the best a man can get, addressing issues of harassment, bullying, and men's mental health. It also promotes the idea that men can and need to do better when it comes to holding each other accountable and treating women with respect so as to set a better example for boys watching them. Yes, if you see another guy being an asshole, yes, address that. And that's the commercial
or a
does
child,
do.
Or a woman.
It does show people being like super disrespectful and stuff like that, and then another guy steps in, or a group of guys steps in, and basically is like, dude, that's not how we should act. And that I agree with, but I just don't think it's as much of a male issue as they're saying in this day and age. I just don't think that. It says the ad
it's
entitled
probably a human thing to be a dick a lot of the time. Have you been on Facebook lately? It doesn't take a penis to be a dick.
And one of the images shows a girl walks by and a guy just turns and starts to kind of follow her. It doesn't show anything. It doesn't show him whistle at her. It doesn't show him like try to harass her. He just literally like sees her and turns and starts to follow her. And it's just like, he could have just been going and asking her phone number, which is not toxic masculinity or
maybe
harassment.
She dropped something and he was going to tell her, or maybe he saw somebody that was about to shoot her in the bushes and he was going to warn her.
And honestly, it's almost getting to the point in the commercial, that point where it's just like hitting on women is toxic masculinity.
Yep.
But it's not. Flirting with a woman is not disrespectful, or there is disrespectful and harassing ways of doing it, but there is also not. And it's just like, how can two people like connect and have a relationship if there's not some sort of like friendly flirting and hitting on and stuff like that?
It's totally up to each party, because some women like more aggressive men who will walk up to them and say, "Oh, to come here often." Some of them want to find people on dating sites.
How many women still accept free drinks at the bar, even though that is considered...
That's insulting. That's toxic masculinity. But they would... I would be willing to bet that 99% of all third-wave feminists, if a man bought them a drink at the bar, they'd be like, well, I feel a little bit better about myself. They'd be fine with it.
I am completely not homosexual, but I will still accept a free drink from a gay
I was
man,
just
you know?
about to say the same thing. I've had many a drink bought for me by gay men at bars.
And I'm not offended in any way.
No.
That's a compliment.
And I inform them of what they're doing, and
Right.
they're fine with it too. But
So it goes on to say, the ad entitled "We Believe" begins with a compilation of actions commonly associated with toxic masculinity. A press release stated, "We believe in the best in men. To say the right thing," this is quoting the beginning of the clip, this is the narrator speaking. It says, "We believe in the best in men. To say the right thing, to act the right way. Some already are, but some it's not enough. Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow." Which I agree with all of that. Some aren't and some are. But I don't think it's 99% are,
right.
and 1% aren't and are doing the right thing. It says, a narrator says over clips of men defending others from bullying or stopping friends from harassing women. The video is more than just an advertisement for the company's product. Gillette is using it as a way to promote change in society and has dedicated a page on website to the cause. It's time we acknowledge that brands like ours play a role in influencing culture, and as a company that encourages men to be their best, we have a responsibility to make sure we are promoting positive, attainable, inclusive, and a healthy version of what it means to be a man. Bullshit. It's not at all them saying, it's time that we start influencing our culture. What it is marketers are realizing people want brands that give a shit. So we need to act like we give a shit. They don't care at all in reality. They care about selling. Mm-hmm. And if a brand like Gillette is coming off with their old slogan, which was the best a man can get, and it's sounding too masculine and too manly, it's like, well, we need to come up with a more like social justice approach. We need to act like we actually care about these situations. And it's just becoming the in thing to have your ads and your brand be part of the social justice movement, starting with Nike having Colin Kaepernick as their spokesperson. It has nothing really to do with them taking sides with that. Like I think we said with Nike, they have an issue with all these human rights things with Colin Kaepernick, yet they still have big human rights issues with the people, the Chinese kids that make their shoes and stuff like that. It's just like, you don't really give a shit. You just want to look like you do, so more people buy your product.
So what exactly is the long and the short of this Gillette thing? Like, so I'm kind of lost as to what exactly is happening here.
Well, it's just basically a commercial showing that these people, like I said, they care about our social issues, and they're portraying.
So are they changing their product, or is it just like a social statement commercial that they put out? That's it.
It's an ad campaign is all it is.
Who
They're
cares?
not changing
Who cares what Gillette? Who cares what a
still
shaving company thinks about social issues? Do they make a good razor? That's the only thing I care about from Gillette.
Exactly.
And are they still making pink razors for women that are more expensive? Like, that's a big thing that feminists always bring up and rave about, that there's like a difference in expenses for men and women because women's razors are more expensive.
They contour your legs better, though.
Which is complete bullshit. They just know that you'll buy it. They're going to do what makes money. They know that this ad campaign is going to make them money in a new and different way. That's the only thing they care about.
Do you know how a woman should respond to that?
Buy men's razors.
Buy men's razors. They do the same damn thing.
Exactly. But I like pink.
Who cares if it's pink? Who cares if it's pink? Who cares if it smells like flowers? Because those flowers are going to wash off as soon as you run your leg under the shower.
Not to mention the fact that they should be offended that it's pink, and that's like condescending to women because women like pink, and that's putting them in some sort of box or something.
They should be mad that they even make women's razors because that's implying that women should shave their legs and their armpits.
And they should be mad that they make women's razors because what's the difference between men's razors and women's razors? There isn't one, so just make razors. I don't disagree with that. Just make razors. I don't give a shit. I'll use a pink razor or a blue razor or whatever. I don't care. The whole thing is nonsense.
So there's two sides of the stupidity. Obviously, there's the social justice side, and there's always the far side of the stupidity too. Because the last paragraph says, Gillette's message doesn't seem to be sitting well with customers. Many commenters on YouTube wrote that they won't be buying the brand's product anymore.
Ugh. Yes, you're both retarded. Like, who cares? Who cares what Gillette thinks? And why are you stopping buying their product? Just like we said with Nike. I'll buy Nike shoes because they make good shoes. Do you do the job well? If so, do you make a good product? If so, I will buy it. I do not care if it's not them going out and committing some giant atrocity. I think it's completely stupid that people are boycotting because a razor company has difference in political views than they do. Like, who cares?
Like I said, it wasn't even that bad. I mean, they showed the good side of it, like, oh, we should be stepping up and like setting a good example for boys. I don't think they should be taking. The whole point wasn't that the commercial's stupid and they weren't saying that there's toxic masculinity and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, they did say the words like bullying and toxic masculinity, but it wasn't focused around that. It was focused on be a real man and stand up for these people, which I do agree with that part. I don't agree that I don't think commercials should take such a political or social role just to make a buck off of it, because we all know it's just utter bullshit. And then on the other side, I think it's even more stupid that people are offended by this, by them standing up and saying, oh, we should do the right thing and be more of a man and stand up for people. Oh, that's stupid. I'm never going to buy their product again.
Yep.
Why? What part of that made you decide, oh, this product's out the window, I'm going to go to Schick now?
Yeah. People are stupid. Speaking of stupid people, the Chinese. Sorry, I couldn't come up with a transition. That's the best I could do.
How do we have any listeners still?
Jokes, people. Jokes. This comes from mirror.co.uk. I don't know why I keep getting a bunch of UK articles, but I do. But it's legit. 1 second. I need some more caffeine. I'm almost out. I started that earlier today, so I might not die tonight. Chinese landing on the moon. Chinese landing on, quote, dark side of the moon was fake, conspiracy theorist claims.
No.
Surprise, surprise.
No.
Surprise. Is this even news? I don't know. I would probably make the same argument if I had looked into the Chinese thing. You heard about the...
Into that.
What?
Before you get on into that, I did have an interesting realization. As you know, I like to get into really old shows on Netflix like The Office, Way Too Late, and Parks and Rec, Way Too Late, and then bring them into everyday life as it was.
Pretend like this is still relevant.
a current show. My most recent venture into Netflix has been Arrested Development.
About time.
Yeah, it's good, and it got into the season. I don't know if you know, but Ron Howard is the narrator of it, and he actually plays a role in some of the later seasons when they actually brought it to Netflix, because he's like producing a movie and stuff like that, and about the family's life, and so you see Ron Howard every once in a while. Well, at one point they walk in, and there's this lunar module, like landing module, on this set, and he was like, this is where we watched the moon landing from. And the main guy was like, oh, you mean on Apollo 13, on the movie Apollo 13? He's like, no, in 1969. He's like, they really went to the moon in 71, but in 69 they definitely did not have the technology to land on the moon. So me and my brother sat right up there and watched it being filmed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they actually went there with that. That was pretty funny.
That's awesome and probably accurate. Anyway, getting into this article, you heard about the Chinese people landed on the dark side of the moon, right? Yes. Do you find that suspicious at all? That they're like, now that, I mean, back in 1979 or whatever the original was, we didn't have the technology that we do now, like for the lay person. Now you can take like a Nikon camera and zoom right up to the moon and see every little detail. So do you think it's suspicious at all, personally, that they decided to land this rocket on the backside of the moon where nobody can verify it?
I never thought about that, but that makes sense. And then another part of me wonders why they chose the backside of the moon, and if this actually happened, which you don't agree with, obviously, based on your comments. But it makes me more wonder, what the hell are they doing back there that they don't want us to
right.
see?
And what was the purpose for landing on the backside of the moon? Like,
why did they land on the front side of the moon and walk to the backside of the moon so we could verify that they were there?
Yeah, many questions.
I want to know what they found. Is there really space aliens like forming bases on the backside, or? And
I'm sure there's, they probably can't send pictures because it's too dark back there to take pictures or something. I don't know, but
right.
Let's get into this. Earlier this month, China made history by landing a rover on the dark side of the moon for the first time. While China's National Space Administration has posted several photos and videos of the landing, conspiracy theorists aren't convinced. Surprise, surprise. Now,
are conspiracy theorists convinced about anything in reality?
Yes, we are convinced that
that the unconvincible is convincing?
Yes, I'm convinced that the things that aren't convincing are not convincing. Now, one conspiracy theorist claims he has evidence that the moon landing was fake. Scott C. Waring, who runs UFO sightings daily, believes he spotted a stage prop line in a photo of the Jade Rabbit rover, and it looks accurate. This is on my laptop, so I can't pull it up for people to see, but you can look this up. I'm sure if you typed in stage prop line, Jade Rabbit rover, you could find it. On his site, he said someone mistakenly placed a line in front of the rover and forgot to erase it, or they should have made the line much smaller. This screams staged event altogether. Mr. Waring also claims that the lack of rocks in the image is a sign that the image is fake, and he's right. There's a strange lack of rocks. It looks pretty smooth. He added, notice the lack of moon rocks on the entire surface of the moon, which is exactly what the first Apollo moon landing also showed, a sign of being faked on a stage. However, Nigel
Maybe there's just not a lot of rocks on the moon.
Yeah, I've never been to the moon, so that's a possibility. I've never been there. I can't say that it should have a lot of rocks. Don't know that it looks like a quarry. I've never been there. However, Nigel Watson, author of UFOs of the First World War, isn't falling for Waring's theory. Speaking of... Hold up. Wait. We're running out of article. I hate when there's like a bunch of ads and videos in the middle of the article, and it's hard to continue.
You get like one sentence at a time.
Exactly, yes. Speaking to Mirror Online, he said, the moon is a location where conspiracy theorist ideas go rampant. In this instance, the prop line could be a reflection of sunlight from the solar panels on top of the vehicle. Whatever it is very slim case for evidence that the Chinese faked this mission. Correct. But the pictures are pictures with strange anomalies are very bad evidence that they actually went to the moon too, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to find on either side. It's like, well, there's pictures, so obviously it happened. And it's like, well, there's pictures, so obviously it didn't happen. It's
right.
Like you're always going to find something to support your own idea, regardless. I mean, there could
everybody's got a confirmation bias and that they're looking for and this type of thing, so whatever.
So was there anything really damning besides, I mean, is there clearly a set line that you can see on there, or?
There's a line that looks strange. Very, very... It definitely does not look like a sun reflection. It looks like a chalk line on the surface of the moon.
I would think they'd be a little more detailed. I mean, it is the Chinese, and we've seen some of their...
And you can see it from two different angles, this chalk line. Definitely is not a reflection, as far as I can tell. Because it's like a hard rectangle.
How do you miss that though?
Right? I don't know.
Post-production, do they not have post-production crew?
Yeah, I mean, when digging into the conspiracy ideas around the moon landing and stuff like that, it's like there's a part of me that's like, obviously we did not go to the moon. But there's another part of me that's like, obviously we did, because there's no way they were so stupid and lazy to be that careless with their cover. Like,
it's like almost like that line there is almost evidence that it had to have happened and we're seeing it wrong, because how would they miss a chalk line? And then, but another side of me, do you ever find it strange, like even though it's China, not the United States, do you ever find it strange how we hear China's getting ready to go land on the dark side of the moon, and then the next day it happens? It's like, how did we not hear about this before? Are we just that? I mean, we are out of touch, but it's like they talk about it for a day, and then the next day they're landing on the dark side of the moon. It's just like, this seems like a pretty big issue that should have had a little more attention during the lead up to it.
Yep, still no people though, just a rover, as far as I know.
Well, yeah, but
we still can't get there because we destroyed that technology.
Right. I mean, it's just like on the Batman movie with Bane where he destroys all the it's the Joker one where Lucius destroys his technology because it was too dangerous and he didn't like what it would become, even though he created it knowing what it could become.
Yeah, but we don't even have that kind of excuse. We don't have like the excuse of, well, it was too dangerous, it could become something terrible, so we got to get rid of it. It's just like, we just got bored and we threw it out because we needed some space. Literally, the explanation for why we don't have the telemetry data tapes, like the actual footage, is because one excuse is that we recorded over them because we needed the tapes. That's something that we would do.
There was limited amount of tapes back then.
And there's been other people who said that we just lost them. We don't know where they are.
It's just like recording over your wedding video.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
the football game came on, and
I would not record over my wedding video for anything. I know, and this is like something in human history that we just are like, who needs it?
You know,
it's on the internet. Go look it up.
Right. No, Bill Clinton's giving his State of the Union address, and we're kind of out of tape. So here's some spare tapes lying around. I mean, we haven't looked at these in 30 years.
Yep. It's fake.
But it's like they, if it's not a conspiracy theory, or if it actually happened, it's like they're purposely trying to make us question things.
They're trying to make us go crazy. Yes. They're giving us enough. They're making it obvious, or they're just I think it's more. They're just lazy. They're just lazy.
I was gonna say it's the government. I don't really hold them too high.
Speaking of the government, we got to get out of here soon because we're pushing hour 20. Do you have anything?
Even a break.
That's true. We got to take a break. Bye.
All right.
Shit. Oh, hold on. Break.
Hey, this is Brett Glyer from Donorcy, and you are watching AntiNews Live.
Hi, this is Ole Damgood from Light on Conspiracies, and you are watching AntiNews Live.
Hey, this is Brian McWilliams from Electric Liberty Land on the Lines of Liberty. You're watching AntiNews Live along with my lazy dog Hank here, who diarrheaed all over that couch. That's why that blanket's there. Enjoy!
And now it's time for that part of the show where we give a big thank you and a shout out to all the beautiful men and women who support this show with their hard-earned and much appreciated dollars. We could not do this without you. If you would like to increase the value of your life and get your name on this list, just go to patreon.com/thesystemisdown and join the Downers Club.
I'm done, I'm pissed, and I'm not putting up with it anymore. You Satanists want to sacrifice the West. You want to kill the beautiful goddess that is the West. You people are enemies, and we're going to get your asses, and we know what you're up to, and we're coming for you. So I've had enough of these people. Okay, so I've been containing this for the last week. That's why I've been in here sweating and getting pissed, because I can't handle it no more.
Hey, this is Toby from Bad Christian, and you're watching AntiNews. Hey, this is Toby from Bad Christian, and you're watching AntiNews.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas from the 29 Toes podcast, and you're watching the AntiNews Live. Fun fact, do you know anything that you drink out of this mug tastes 50% better? You should give it a try. Enjoy the show.
Fact. It does taste 50% better, but mine is in the dishwasher right now, so I don't have it. So my drinks taste 50% worse. So we gotta. What?
This isn't a story. I just wanted to read real quick.
Okay, do tell.
somebody
Do
posted
interrupt to
I will.
do that, please. Go ahead.
I thought you were getting into a story, and I didn't want you to get into it.
No, I appreciate it. You cut me off so that you didn't have to cut me off. That's great. Go ahead.
Exactly. There's a delay. I'll just blame the delay.
Yeah.
Somebody named P. Master Jetty posted in the forum earlier today.
That's
Have you
Jed
seen the
Payne
whole
from Church and Other Drugs, the podcast?
Oh, okay. Have you seen the whole thing on Facebook where people are posting the 10-year photos of themselves, like photo 10 years ago and a photo today? This is interesting, and it's almost believable, very much so. It says, I think the whole post 2 pictures of you 10 years apart thing is so they can update and calibrate facial recognition algorithms.
I would not be surprised.
No, not at all.
But of course they're gonna say it's so you can just you can compare, and it's also so that we can make these new fun apps that show you the aging process, and we can age you further, and you can just compare your whatever.
So did you have a story? Because I have one kind of that relates to that.
To the faces?
To like facial recognition type stuff.
Well, I don't have anything too terribly exciting. The government is still shut down, and the Washington Post is talking about how it's giving some Trump advisors what they've always wanted, which is a smaller government, and what I've always wanted too. I'm totally fine with that. Let me see if there's anything worth actually reading in this article.
Clearly, the country has gone, 4 weeks now without a government?
Yep.
I mean, how much do we need this government?
Yep. I'm totally fine. Let's keep it. Let's keep this party going. I don't care if there's a wall or not. I don't care if we build it. I would prefer not to have to pay for it if we do build it. But most importantly, let's just keep proving how little we need the government. Thank you, Trump. Thank you. It's the best thing you've done so far. Anyway, go ahead with yours, because I don't really care to talk too much about politics tonight, because I don't care.
So, have you heard of the Ring doorbells? The Ring brand doorbells? It's like a camera doorbell.
Yeah.
So,
I listen to podcasts. They all get sponsored eventually by Ring.
So, sometime in the near past, Ring got bought out by Amazon. And apparently, Amazon-owned Ring has reportedly been spying on customer camera feeds.
Good.
Right.
Surprise.
So this thing that was supposed to make you more secure is now a way for another big tech conglomerate to spy on you.
To make you less secure.
Yes. Says, if you own a Ring doorbell camera system, we've got some bad news. The smart home company owned by Amazon, which the internet retail giant shelled out more than $1 billion to acquire. That's a lot of money. Because, I mean, it was a kind of a big company, but I don't know that it was $1 billion company.
Yeah.
So it makes you think that they obviously have some plans for this, and it's really important to them. It's apparently been violating its customers' privacy policy in a pretty shocking way. A new report from The Intercept quotes unnamed sources who confirmed that engineers and executives at Ring have highly privileged access to live customer camera feeds, utilizing both Ring's doorbells as well as its in-home cameras.
Ugh.
First of all, I guess Ring
I'm out.
Ring does make I was going to say, why do you have an indoor camera? That's disturbing to me. But Ring does make a baby monitor camera. There are video baby monitors. And probably
it means the man is watching your baby sleep.
So, yeah. And there's like nanny cams and stuff like that. It says all that's apparently required to tap into the live feeds is a customer's email address. All they need is your email address to tap into the live feed, meaning the company has how do you pronounce that? Egregiously. There you go. Has been
I can read your article better than you can, and you're reading it.
You're terrible at reading, so shut up.
I'm terrible at reading, but I at least know words. I know
Meaning
all
the
the
company
words.
has
I've got the
been
best
so-
words, the egregious words.
The company has been so egregiously lax when it comes to security and privacy that even people outside the company could potentially have done this, using merely an email address to begin spying on customers, according to the report. Within the company, a team that was supposed to have been focused on helping Ring get better at object recognition in videos caught customers in videos doing everything from kissing to firing guns and stealing. This news, we should add,
All at the
also
same time.
Yes. This news also comes less than a month after Ring was in the news for a different potential privacy flap. As we told you here, a new patent application has begun to spur fears that Amazon would use Ring as a tool for creepy surveillance. The patent application envisions using... So this is where it connected to that little post I read. The application envisions using a combination of doorbell cameras and facial recognition technology to build a system that could be used to match images of people who show up at your door to a suspicious person's database. So they're collecting people's faces into a database with your Ring doorbell.
It's called Facebook.
Well, yeah, exactly. But no, they're making it sound like it's a good thing. So
Right.
your phone will pop up and warn you that there's a suspicious person there because this person's face has been deemed a suspicious person.
How long?
I hope.
How long before this thing that is seen as a general good becomes a racist thing? As like if more black people commit crimes in certain neighborhoods, it's like well, there's a suspicious person based on what exactly?
Regarding this new, I like to go into the database and look and see what the ratio of different races and sexes and stuff are on there. It says, regarding the new report, The Intercept also disclosed that a Ring R&D team in Ukraine could access a folder containing every video created by every Ring camera around the world. There's one folder that contains all those videos. How big of a freaking folder is that? Additionally, as if that wasn't bad enough, those employees could also access a corresponding database that linked each specific video file to corresponding specific Ring customers. So not only do they have the videos, but they know exactly who each video belongs to. So as it keeps getting worse from there, those videos were also unencrypted because why else? Ring decided it would cost too much.
Yep.
It brings
no need to secure. It's a security company, and they're not going to encrypt their data.
Says it brings to mind the similar God-made map that revealed detailed passenger movements. If you don't know what that is, that was, and they're not going to list the company's name because of lawsuits and stuff like that. I'm sure because it just says the God-made map. That was referring to Uber. Uber had created a map of users, kind of regulate, like monitoring their movement, even when they weren't like calling for Ubers. Yeah. So they would strategically place their drivers around those areas and stuff like that. And they would pay if you had in the area, if there was a driver that was both driving for Uber and Lyft, because they're two different driving companies. If they knew you were driving for both, however they figured that out, they would pay you more if you were in an area to pick up for Uber instead of Lyft.
Nice.
And it was just a big ordeal that happened about a year ago. So they're comparing it to that without actually saying the name Uber. I don't care if Uber sues me because they don't know us anyway. It says, this has also been something of an open secret within the company, with Intercept sources recalling how engineers sometimes teased each other about who they brought home after dates. The implication being that they'd been spying on each other. That's creepy.
Yeah.
So employees are spying on each other, and
they're totally cool with that.
Yep. Also worth noting, neither Ring's terms of service nor its privacy policy mention
Just
any
imagine
manual...
like the cooler talk, like standing around the water cooler. Oh yeah, you took home that prostitute last night. We don't have any privacy, do we? No, we don't. But that's
even creepier.
What's paying our bills? It's all good.
Even creepier. Your baby didn't sleep too good last night, did she?
Right.
Says Neither Ring's terms of service nor its privacy policy mention any manual video annotation being conducted by humans, nor does either document mention of the possibility that Ring staffers could access videos at all. The Intercept piece concludes, even with suitably strong policies in place, the question of whether Ring owners should trust a company that ever considered the above permissible will remain an open one. Ring spokesman...
Oh yeah, we'll just... I mean, the second that it becomes a normal thing, we'll all just do it because that's what we do. That's how it always goes. Well, so your iPhone's spying on you. Okay, well, when can I get the next update?
Yeah. Ring spokesman released a statement, obviously. Their first sentence is laughable based on all those other things, especially the one where the encryption cost too much. First statement says, we take the privacy and security of our customers' personal information extremely seriously, unless it costs money. In order to improve our service,
we're unwilling to secure it.
In order to improve our service, we view and annotate certain Ring video recordings. But do you state this in the terms of service? Because I have a problem with just that, with you watching my video just to improve your service. Right. Without my knowledge, I don't want you viewing those recordings.
Right.
It says these recordings are sourced exclusively from public shared Ring videos from the Neighbors app. I don't believe it. In accordance, who publicly shares their videos with their neighbors?
Right.
Is that actually a thing? I wasn't aware of that, but if you are, then you're just an idiot to begin with. Oh, check out this guy dropping off a package at my door. I bet you'd really like to watch this video. No. Yep. What? It says in accordance with our terms of service. And from a small fraction of Ring users who have provided their explicit written consent to allow us to access and utilize their videos for such purposes. Ring employees do not have access to live streams from Ring products. So the source was lying, is what he's saying. Goes on to say, we have strict policies in place for all our team members. We implement systems to restrict and audit access to information. We hold our team members to a high ethical standard, of course, and anyone in violation of our policies faces discipline, including termination and potential legal and criminal penalties. In addition, we have zero tolerance for abuse of our systems, and if we find bad actors... they've been listening to... Alex Jones. If we find bad actors who have engaged in this behavior, we will take swift action against them. I don't believe any of that at all. I probably side more with the source than I do with the spokesperson, because of course he's going to say all those things. Mm-hmm. It's just so creepy to me, and I install these things. I've installed several Ring doorbells at my job, and now I'm just
I thought you were a cable guy.
You're right. You got me. You got me all this time.
Yep. I know that you're a cable guy because I've been watching you through your Ring doorbell.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So yeah, I've installed a couple of these and installed a couple other Wi-Fi camera, cheaper and Wi-Fi camera systems for home uses. One is by I can't think of the brand name now. They make a lot of the routers, but it's Arlo systems are these little Wi-Fi cameras, and they're probably they're basically exactly the same thing, but they're cameras instead of doorbells. They're just strictly cameras.
Yeah,
and it's just never really even occurred to me how easy it would be because it's all app based. It's not stored on. It's not stored on a DVR in your home or something like that. It is all on the cloud, which is on their servers, which is easily accessed by them. So it's just this is just too creepy of a world we're living in. And it's only going to get worse because there's they're coming out with dryers with your IP address and stuff like that. And it's just everything is just going to be up on the cloud. It's just how was your fabric softener today? Because your clothes seemed a little stale based on your dryer. It was saying they were a little crinkly today. You need to get different fabric softener.
But it's important. It's important to have that convenience in our lives, don't you know? I mean, just so that we can have the refill of fabric softener delivered directly to our hands when we wake up in the morning. or just straight to the dryer. Like,
and it's okay
worth it.
for me to order those things online so it delivers it right to your door. That's fine. But how lazy do you have to be that your dryer has to tell you that you're running low on fabric softener, or not even tell you, just to order it for you?
At what point do we even matter? Or like we just lay in bed and everything, our house functions around us and it takes care of itself.
It just reads your thoughts. You just like wake up in the morning, you hold out your hand and you have a cup of coffee in your hand and you're like, no, it actually holds it up to you with a straw and you're like,
yep. So prediction, as we wrap up here, how far off do you think the apocalypse is at this point? When there's no turning back now without some sort of nuclear holocaust, or I guess it doesn't even have to be nuclear. All it would take, we have become so dependent on all these things that technological warfare would be so simple and easy. Just flip a switch and we are all just savages again.
Shutting technology off is a big ordeal, like technology itself with all the stuff there is, but shutting the grid off is really relatively easy because we have a very outdated electrical grid that we're just copying in places and patching it here and there and just making it carry way more than it was ever intended to carry. So yeah, I mean, it'd be so easy to just flip the grid off and everything's gone. And
how many years
everybody
do we get? How many years?
I mean, I say it's possible this year. It's I mean,
5G's coming. We're getting so dependent. It's ridiculous.
We had an emergency, I think it was still BTSB back then, because we thought potentially the grid might be going off and it might be our last chance, and we didn't want to miss the chance to say goodbye.
So anytime there's a threat, we're going to report on it.
I was going to say, clearly, if we're willing to, at any given moment, report on this possibility. I mean, it's a possibility tomorrow, obviously, because we will make it seem like it's a possibility until it's not, because it almost seems more possible than not possible.
Yeah.
Something is going to happen. It's got to happen.
It's becoming almost guaranteed. We're really the Tower of Babel is becoming too tall. Like, especially with the freaking 5G stuff. I've been listening to some crap about that lately. It's like, do we really need to have access to everything everywhere on the face of the earth at all times? Like,
at a blink of an eye?
I am
my
okay
phone
with
is plenty fast enough.
Yeah, I am okay with having some dead zones in the world if it means that we don't literally fry our brain cells with 5G technology. Not even saying that it's necessarily nefarious. I think it probably is. But even if it isn't, there's going to come a point where we just take one step too far and we're like, shit. Well,
that was it. That was the line.
Yep, that was the line. And we got too convenient, and now we're all dead.
And history proves that we are willing to take this step and cross our fingers and hope things don't happen. Like when they first detonated the atom bomb, when they first split the atom, they were concerned that it might light the entire atmosphere on fire. Yet they
try. They still did it.
Split the atmosphere with even a 1% chance of that is way too high in my opinion.
It's like what could go wrong? Well, we could all be dead. Everything could go wrong. Well, let's still give it a shot.
Let's just give it. I mean, so you're telling me there's a chance,
right?
So it's just like we are taking. It's not like, I mean, obviously, they must take some precaution, but there's always that little doubt that it's like, we won't know if this is going to fry our brain cells until after we flip it on. So let's just go for it and see. Right. Maybe we'll just have a trial run in a big city.
It might not fry our brain cells, so let's try it.
If they start foaming at the mouth in New York City, then we know we can probably flip it on somewhere else.
That's right. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up this episode of Anti-News. I did not mention, we stumbled, we kind of tripped and fell into that break there, so I didn't really preface that and say if you want to be on that list that was read or that happened during Alex Jones screaming. That list is all the people who support the show with their hard-earned and much-appreciated dollars. They are the members of the Downers Club over at patreon.com/the system is down. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to keep the show growing and getting bigger and better, you can do that there. For as little as $5 a month, you will get the bonus episodes of the show that come out every single week. Typically, we do at least 2 episodes a week, sometimes more. But that is only for members of the Downers Club. And again, you can join that by going to patreon.com/the system is down. Thank you guys all for being a part of that, who are. And those people will get the extended episode of this. If you have not had enough of this garbage, nonsense, this test of endurance, and you would like more, you can go over and get that right now at patreon.com/the system is down. Also, again, I must remind you to call in to the show and leave us a happy voicemail to kick off next week's episode. 309-716-3818. Let us know if you want us to hashtag fire Craig. Let us know if you think that we are shills or, soulless, catty, ginger, shill, douchebags, whatever.
If you do say that you want to fire me, I will murder you.
That is the AntiNews guarantee. But thank you guys for listening. It's been fun, and we will talk to you next week. Until then, question everything, stay uncomfortable, have fun, and Craig, anything?
No, nothing.
So here's my pledge to you. I will be a commander-in-chief that will have the back of the military. I won't trash talk. I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country, to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.